haven't even been tested for half the stuff they say my unit probably was engaged with, not just the poor veterans like the Vietnam veterans who deal with Agent Orange poisoning and other such things. But I'm going to talk about these kinds of things because I think it's important and I think it needs to be shared. A lot of us used to have to burn our own feces while we were overseas. That sounds pretty gross and you don't want to hear it, but I want you to know because your children, your neighbors' children are dealing with this while they're over there right now, defending your, quote, liberty. They have to burn their own feces because there is no proper way of disposing it. Also, they have what they call burn pits, and everything goes into burn pits. From the batteries in our radios that no longer work, from the batteries in our ICOMs and our communication devices and our personal devices, and all these things get blown up and burned up in, quote, the burn pit. Now the burn pit has been poisoning over thousands and hundreds and thousands, maybe up to now in the millions, of young troops between the ages of 18 and 35 at minimum. I have also been notified that I probably am suffering from depleted uranium poisoning because of the DU rounds we shoot out of our NATO, which are NATO rounds, which is what we're giving when we go to Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria or any other places we may not be allowed to mention. These rounds that are tipped with uranium tips are actually nuclear, you know? It's uranium, and it causes changes in your DNA, the very makeup of your body. And so, for me, the nuclear issue is a very, very, very touchy, personal thing because I suffer from it. I have traumatic brain injury, obviously PTSD from hand-to-hand combat and close quarters combat. But the big thing is we're all trying to figure out is why are we all dying off before we're 45 years old? I mean, we leave high school, we join the army, we come home and we die. I mean, is that what you want for your children? I know it's not what I want for mine. So, with that said, we really need to do more research. And I don't think the government's doing enough research for our veterans. They're not doing it because we are using exactly what my brother Gilbert here said, activism. We're actually standing up and going, hey, why is it that all of a sudden I have tremors after 6 months of a deployment when I've had a clean bill of health and never had an issue in my entire life? Think about that. You wake up one day and next thing you know you're twitching and you don't know why. You go to the doctors, they go, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're perfectly fine. Go home and die. Take this pill, drink water, face out. Yeah, I'm not about to do that. So for the last 6 years, I've been trying to figure out what is going on with me. Now that I have the answers, I have understanding, and I'm willing to suffer every day of my life to put up with it. And to, when I get an opportunity like this, to plug stuff like this. Because if you really care about your veterans, which we say we do on media, we say we do at rallies for the politicians hold and all this wonderful stuff, but I'm telling you right now from personal experience, half the veterans don't get the care they need. They don't get the attention they need. We're more worried about these wonderful people floating down this river than our veterans. We're more worried about if we're going to make $5 at our garage sale next week than if our veterans and our service members and women and all the armed forces that are supposedly defending this great nation and nations, if they actually have the care, the protection, and the awareness they need. They're not given that. I know from personal experience. Talk about chemicals. Do you know how they came up with chemotherapy? They were gassing troops during World War II. And during the gassing, they realized that there was a little positive side to gassing the so-called privates, which they use as guinea pigs. Now a lot of your generation that was at World War II are now passing. Still from unknown illnesses and cancers. So now we're talking about cancer. The cancer rate in the United States is at a point where I quit staring at it because it makes me cry thinking about the next 7 generations of your grandchildren, your children, and yourselves. I don't know about you, but I could care less who's running the Indy 500 this year. I could care less what the NFL, the NBA, and any other entertainment industry has to say. Simply because I've lived outside that box. I've lived in reality. The reality is, our governments, honestly, care less. They're more about profit and gain. And I'm not talking about this out of anger. This is just the truth. And if you don't want the truth, please get your chairs and leave. Because I'm not here for you. I'm here for the one who will listen. The one person who actually cares about their fellow man. And that's why I was willing to sacrifice my life for. Those are the ones, even the ones who don't care. I was willing to lay my life down. That you could come up here, or you could go to anywhere and do whatever. You could watch football. You could learn how to twerk and all that crazy stuff you see on social media and all this nonsense. I think the level of sanity, if we look at the rise of psychological problems in our country, just in the United States, went up 120%. I wonder why. That's a rhetorical statement. If you're awake, you know why. And if you're an elder, you need to start talking to your youth. Because the ones that are under the age of 30 actually care. Take the time to talk to your grandkids. Don't be afraid to tell them that the world, yes, is scary. But there's hope that you can change it. Because if you don't tell them that they can change it, they're going to feel powerless. In a place where we have nothing but fear in our nation. Right now, we're still worried about nuclear war with North Korea. Yes, apparently, the great, wonderful man, and we call him the Great White Chief in Washington, has apparently stopped the nuclear issue. But we still have a plethora of nuclear arms at any disposal at any given time. And if one person pushes the button, we're all pushing the buttons. That's a fact. I know, I was briefed about it. And I don't care if I'm not allowed to talk about this stuff, because I'm going to. I'm already gonna die. I might as well. That's why I'm fearless. That's why I have hope. Because I look at you sitting down here, and I think about your future, your 7 generations of children. And I think to myself, if someone doesn't stand up and talk, if these people who came and speak do not speak, then the silence will continue to be heard, and nothing will be done about it. You know, I could be like everybody else. I could be sitting at home, drinking my coffee, painting my paintings, and living my own life, ignoring the reality that is outside of my walls of my yard. But there comes a time when you must stand up. And I think as a veteran, I understand that the most. I understand that the time is now. It's always now. It's always in the moment. In this moment, we have a time to listen. We have a time to go home and think. And then we need to speak. And we need to not be afraid to speak. Because literally, all of the authority that's been given to any government of any nation is given to them by the people. It is not given to them by some God up in heaven. It is not given to them by the men of earth. Only the people. Not one man can claim power over another. This is in my culture. No one is above, no one is below, no one is behind or in front. We're all next to each other. Everyone is equal in the circle of life. Every life is sacred. From the one who wants to blow me up and hate my country, to the one who wants to kill their neighbor just because of the skin color that they carry. We've been facing, my local community has been facing, not just here, but up north, which is when I say my community, I'm thinking more like Tawas, Escoda, which is directly across from the Kinkard, the DGR site, the Bruce Power site. It's directly across from Lake Huron. Literally, my tribal lands sit right next to Ward Smith Air Force Base in Escoda. And that whole area is now found to be poisoned water because of all the heavy metals from the military base. Not just that, from all of the other stuff that we've had running in the process. So when I heard rumors about a handful of people who really don't care about the land per se, and they think it's just something that they can claim and then they can use for their benefit, and then at the end of the day it's not their problem. It's called, you call it Tawas Lake, we called it Squirrel Marsh. This has gotten many names, but it's a marsh. It has never been labeled a lake. People go there to hunt ducks and other game and fish and many other things. But that land has been sacred to my family for over 100 years. And when I heard word that they wanted to spray glyphosates or foaming agents onto the marsh just to kill off some aquatic, quote, weeds, which was really just natural growing rice, which we eat, I was infuriated because I'd had enough. Bad enough, I went out knowingly to get messed up in combat. But then to come home and watch my country be flipped upside down by politicians and industrialists, the industrial ruling class, I realized that I wasn't really, in reality, at the day, in the moment, I was only fighting to my buddy, to my left and my right. I wasn't even fighting for liberty. Because if our people had liberty, we'd have the liberty to stand up and say, no, you cannot put a pipeline through my backyard, and I don't care what you say, because this is our land. This is our sacred Mother Earth. But we've had to disconnect for the last 6, 7 generations in modern society, and we don't have a clue what it is to live on the land. My father, my grandfathers, some of them were even immigrants, henceforth why I'm just an Aboriginal, not First Nations. I'm Métis. I'm a mixed-blooded person. I'm neither white nor red. I'm something better. We were created out of love. Our whole communities, our whole nation of Métis people was created on love, unity, and living on the land. And when I look at my youth, I want to cry, because I think of their great-grandchildren. How are they gonna be able to stand up if we don't? And I think about all the hardships my family personally, by standing up, has had to face since I've been home as a veteran. I've had more crap coming home than I did emotionally fighting a war on foreign soil that really had nothing to do with me. So when I heard about this, I was infuriated, like I was saying. And I went up north and I talked to the elders and I found out what was going on. And it was only a handful, and I mean just literally 5 families who wanted this weeds gone so they could have their recreational lake. But it's not a recreational lake. It hasn't been ever. It's a marsh. North of it is Tuttle Marsh, where Ducks Unlimited protected. It's protected federal land. Yet here I am, having to go up north to our homeland, part of our homeland, and speak up because others were afraid. Afraid of 5 people who just wanted their property value to go up. That's it. That was the exact reason they gave at the public meeting about it. They just wanted the property value to go up so they can get to their docks. I said, okay, how about we just cut the rice? Well, we tried that. No one wants to sustain a thing like that. So I went immediately, got on the phone after the meeting or before the meeting, and when I heard about this is what they were talking about, I actually overheard it over a cup of coffee, and our elder called me and told me about it. So I engaged our Warrior Society. No, we're not a militant organization. We are nothing but protectors of our elders, our children, our land, our water, our resources. See, you guys pay people to do that for you because it's convenient. But we don't have that ability. We can't trust other people to actually stand up for us because we have not forgotten what real liberty is. We know we don't have an illusion. We don't live in a fearful mindset. They want us to. That's why they want everyone to assimilate to whatever they think is popular. But I'm telling you, young ones, don't assimilate. Decolonize your hearts and minds. Not just political arenas. Those will come in time. The only way we're going to protect our natural resources is by educating our youth. The youth have to want and have a drive to care about their environment. They naturally do, until we tell them, well, don't worry about going and playing in the woods today. You need to go to school, which is important. Don't get me wrong. You need to be educated to be able to do what I'm doing right now. I didn't get here by being a stupid person. mom is a biologist, for crying out loud, and was a school teacher. So I keep going back to the kids real quick because this is so important. It's the elders and the children that we have let go to the side. Think about it. In our community, our elders stay in the home until they pass away. We take care of them day in and day out, no matter what it takes, because they are more important than our profit. Same thing with our children. But America has forgotten that. If you don't believe me, go look around. Go to a big city and just walk around. Don't look at your phone. Don't go to a fancy restaurant. Don't go to nothing. Don't go to none of those quote attractions. Just observe. Where are all your elders? Are they in their homes, drinking healthy water, eating healthy food, like their ancestors did when they came here as immigrants? No. They're dying of Alzheimer's, which is a horrible thing. And you know how you get Alzheimer's? Heavy metals in the brain. We're just gonna go research that, try to find a pill to fix it. When all you gotta do is fix the infrastructure in which they're drinking their water, which, just like you mentioned, is one of the most important things. So when I'm contemplating all of this and I'm hearing all of this about our wonderful sacred marsh, which our people have gotten our food off of for generations, I can't help to think about myself about all the other farmers in my local area here who spray their fields all day long and their neighbors are getting sick and they're wondering why. Prime example, 5 days ago, a wonderful, loving Christian brother decided to spray the farming field with glyphosate to kill what was left of the weeds in the wheat, so he could till it up and plant the next year's seed, which happens to be GMO. And I watched the west wind, take that right into my chicken yard. 2 days later, I have 2 dead chickens. I live off those chickens. You think that's simple, but I depend on this. I can't work. If I could, I probably would. Maybe at this stage of my life, I probably wouldn't. Only because I'd just be feeding the same system that wants me dead, apparently, because they're killing the environment in which I have to live. So when I thought about all the people that get the food off of that marsh, not just us Aboriginals, but everybody else, I was heartbroken. Not just infuriated, I was heartbroken. Because all I could think of was, if you spray this stuff, it's going to die. Yes, it's not just going to kill off that stuff, but it's going to kill off the fish. It's going to kill off the bald eagles that are still protected on the marsh. It's going to kill off the osprey. It's going to kill off the owls. It's going to kill off everything, slowly but surely, because that stuff builds up in the ecosystem because it's a food chain. If you eat, because we're at the top of the food chain, so we don't really think about this. But what does your dog eat? If your dog eats a wild rabbit, let's say it's a hunting dog, takes a piece of game and eats it. Whatever that game ate is now in that dog. And that stuff builds up from one animal to another. Now picture that us as humans now. We're at the top of the food chain and we're getting all of the chemicals that are shoved into our animals and our environment. And we wonder why we're all getting sick, because it's not profitable to actually do something about it. They don't want to do anything about it. They want to just pass the buck, so to speak. So in my frustration, I went and smudged myself, as I often do. And I talked to my elders because they're the ones who've lived before me. They have all the wisdom. I'm just a young guy. I'm a nobody. Just an average Joe. And then I thought about the animals who can't speak for themselves on that marsh, who are wild and free, like our people once were. This great nation was free, right? We say we're free, right? Something to think about. So I heard that they're going to have one more meeting to discuss if they're going to go through with at least applying for a permit to spray this or send this foaming agent into a small, secluded 7-acre area of like let's say it's let's just for random guesstimation, just say the marsh is 100 acres. So 7% of that 100 acres is going to get nailed. And in Tawas, a lot of times the wind decides to come out of the east for some reason. So what's that going to do? It's going to push it all to the west when that east wind starts coming. When that nor'easter in the fall and that stuff starts rolling back over. So not only is it hitting that, it's hitting all our food. It's messing with our environment. So knowing what happened to my chickens, just an example of recently, so you can think about what I had to must have been on my mind at the time of my ride going up there. So I sat in this meeting for like 15 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes, listening to the people talk about why they should have it and why they shouldn't. And then when they finally, the little Aboriginal community got a chance to speak, they started shutting down the children. That was the first one to talk. It was one of our sisters. They shut her down. They laughed at her. These are elders in the community laughing at this Aboriginal just because she's got a slightly darker skin tone. Yet she goes to school with all their grandkids. Yet these people don't care. All they care about is making money so they can sell their land. Remember, this is exactly what they said. This is out of their own mouth. So I had enough. First, you're going to yell at our elders and tell them they're idiots and they don't know what they're talking about because they just don't have the articulation ability to use the English language like I may have the gift to do. So I stood up and I said, wait a minute. With all due respect to all of you in all your positions and all the businesses you may or may not own, this person's a human being and how dare you talk down to them? Wouldn't you want the same respect that I just gave you? I thought we were Americans. Isn't that what America's about? Respecting one another, having higher morals and traditions and values? But see, everything, not just the environment, is taking a dump. And you wonder why our elders are crying and are seemingly losing their minds. It's the stress is killing them. They know what's going on, but they know they're feeble and they don't want to stand up. So that's why I asked the elders, I said, where's our warrior society? Where's it been in the last 6 generations? Well, it's been broken and not here. I said, well, you know what? Since 2008, we've had one. And here I am. And I was voted to be head warrior. This isn't it's a political position, I guess, from an American's perspective or Canadian's perspective. But really, all it is a protector's position. It's a man's job to stand up and care about the children and the women and the environment in which they have to provide for them from. So as a person who works the land himself with his bare hands, tries not to use fossil fuels to garden, I stood up and I corrected these people out of respect. I wasn't just ranting and raving at them. I was just talking much like I am right now. I said, hey, look, stop. Just be quiet. Why don't you open your ears? Don't you have 2 of them and 1 mouth? Use your ears. These are your children. These are the echoes of your own children who are afraid to talk to you because they know you're important in the community and you have businesses and they don't want to take that from you because they are benefited from it. So they don't want to ruffle feathers. But I'm not that person. I'm not their grandchild. So I had the ability to speak for them. So I stood up and started talking. And I started articulating about what would happen to the environment. And I told them exactly, I said, you know what's going on at Standing Rock right now? You think that's just an isolated issue? You think that kind of gathering can't happen here on this marsh? You think for 5 seconds I can't gather 100 canoes and we tie them together and live on this marsh for a week while you think you're going to spray it just so it will be out of season and it won't work? Do you think we can't do that? Because that's what you're facing. I was just honest with them. As an Aboriginal, I told them the truth to their face, without fear, and out of love. I said, I love you people. I've known this community for many, many, many years. And I've been alive, and so has my forefathers before me. And they're respected members of the community. So here I am, speaking on their behalf now that they're gone because they cannot no longer. It is now my place, my job, my duty. It is my duty and responsibility, not just a right, but a duty and a responsibility to defend given a gift of life, something sacred, something our people hold as the highest of sacredness, the essence of being. And I thought about all of the beings that they were going to poison. And I said, I'm telling you the truth right now. You may think I'm nuts, but I tell you, if you go forward with this, not only you're going to have a mini Standing Rock on Tawas Marsh, but this is going to spread like wildfire. And this isn't the only lake they spray. Hubbard, Houghton, Van Etten, all of these lakes which we all go and go to recreation from down here because we don't want to be by the city. We want to be able to go and do stuff like that. What they're doing right now. Still doing. We want to be able to just go up and get out of the hustle and bustle and the hatred and the racism. And just get and drink some clean water and breathe some fresh air. But that shouldn't be just something you do for recreation. That should be a part of your weekly lives. So needless to say, they still pass the ability to pass the permit. Okay. Step 2. Keep fighting. And I don't mean with my fists or guns or tomahawks or blades. I'm talking about with my heart, my mouth, and my mind. See, if we eat clean food and drink clean water, you have a coherent body. That therefore your spirit, which is literally you are a spirit whether you want to admit it or not. I don't care what religion you practice. Science has even validated there's something in there that doesn't naturally just occur. It's given. And your spirit is your power. You are power. Every heartbeat you have powers the very nature in which you live your lives. The very governments, businesses, and industries in which run your governments and your societies are all based off of your power. Needless to say, they didn't spray. They're not going to be able to spray the lake for a long time because we stood up and spoke out. Even the company themselves, the consultant, understood once we made it clear and gave them the facts. But no one wanted to give them the facts because it was against profit and gain. So I said all that, and I gave you an example of a story about how activism works through nonviolence. And we're going to continue to push this, regardless of who's heading it. Because, again, it's the grassroots, it's the children, it's the people living on this area that is being fought to be protected. It is your job as an American citizen, it's your duty, your responsibility to care about your environment. If you don't, I don't know why you call yourself an American. I mean, isn't that why we send our men and women over in the armed forces over there to fight battles? Because if that's not what we're doing, then we need to quit sending them over there. And as for the DGR, all my Aboriginal cousins and relations are definitely against that. And then if them that are for it are sellouts. I'm going to say that publicly. I'm not afraid for the flag. If you're willing to sell out your environment for a buck, for a loon, for a mark, something's wrong with your heart. You have a heart problem. You can't get it fixed at the doctor. I'm telling you that right now. So I ask you when you go home today, take a walk in your neighborhood. Think about where your water comes from and where your waste goes. When you got a piece of trash in your hand or you're riding down the road, think twice before you throw it out. Because you never know whose water or food that's going to end up, whether it's oil, fracking, nuclear, doesn't matter. It all goes somewhere, back to the environment. I want to thank you all for your patience, and your ears, and your hearts, and your lives. And I hope that all of you can live healthy, happy, peaceful lives. And one quick plug before we wrap this up. We have to touch this because this is a huge issue in our nation right now. Racism. If you hate another person for the color of their skin, you're no different than the person hating you. You're a racist. A racist is a racist. I don't care what avenue you use it. The only way we can combat racism is with love, peace, and unity. The only way we're going to move forward is by peace. War only begets war. I know. I've lived it. Thank you for your time.
My dad was up here earlier and he did establish a lot of things that were very emotional through our family and our generations. But now I am going to talk to you guys about what's going on lately here. I have talked to one of my friends on Gmail lately, and her brother was just giving I don't know what it's called, but he was going to the doctors. You know how every year you gotta go and get your shots and stuff. He took a shot last year, and he was just now diagnosed a year after he took that shot with a type of autism, and I do not know what it is. That was really scary for me because her great-grandma had autism too, but that was through the family. He was told that none of them were to have it, and he got it a year after taking a certain shot. I am not surprised. I've heard things like this have happened, but my dad talked about how Métis are special, right? Everybody is special, and everybody gets a chance to change, either others or the world or the environment. I lately have been blessed with something that was sort of down the line family generation, not really blessed, but it made things a lot more easier for me. Sports, a lot more energy you have to give, a lot more time, and I've loved spending time with animals. So this blessing, I'd sometimes call it a curse in my head, but has left me no choice just to do horseback riding because I cannot do sports now. My family have had a lot of bad problems running along. Even when my dad was out on service, when he came back, it all ended, but yet again it's probably going on when I have no control over it. I lately have been having a hard time at school. Before school ended, I was being made fun of. I was being called red-skinned. I was being called other names because I have told a lot of my friends, or used to be friends, that I am not like everybody else. I am different. I am Métis. I support my native culture. Just the other day, I learned how to... Where's my dad?
Winnow rice. Winnow
rice. And it was really cool. Apparently I was really good at it my first time. And it really shocks me that a lot of people that I probably know are probably Métis. And yet again, they go around making fun of me for cultural differences, or looks, or special needs, whatever. It doesn't matter. Everybody is the same. You make yourself different. You pull yourself away from the crowd to make yourself better than everybody. My dad here has been telling me, and my mom at home have been telling me that bullies are just have problems at home probably, or have their own problems to go through and they take it out on others. Well, I do admit there are times where I do take my problems out on others. Sometimes family members, sometimes people at school. There are times where I've yelled at a teacher. And I am getting through the point that it is not right. Even though I do it and I am trying really hard not to, it's not okay. Like my dad was saying, how they were talking down to the elders, the ones that have probably gone through a lot more than they have, and know a lot more than they do to help them. A lot of people are afraid to talk about problems. A lot of people are afraid to admit anything. And my family has gone through a lot of BS lately. And it is really sick. Literally. No family, no children should go through anything that my family went through. Any of it. And yet again, there are people younger and older than me that still go through the same thing. And they have counselors and stuff, and it's not working. There are people who speak out like my father do. People who keep it inside and take it out on themselves. worse things that she's got to deal with. But other ways, it's still not okay for them to be trashing our world, the most beautiful world that we have. And the only, yes. This is our life. We need to start taking control over it. It's not the government's to tell us what to do. Yes, I go to school and I follow by their learning things, and there are things that they don't teach me. There are things that they speak about. They probably shouldn't. But I had a wonderful teacher this year for history who said a lot of things that she wasn't supposed to teach. And she did it anyways. And I am a little upset to have her move back to where she came from, Alaska. But yet again, she's probably going to get back to teaching and do the same thing again. My dad is not letting anybody tell him what to do or how to live his life. That is how Miss Janota was doing her job. Everybody here should be doing what they know is right. Not let the government boss them around. Except for the children, you have to listen to your parents. Just because I'm saying don't let nobody boss you around, listen to your parents. Yes. And that's pretty much all I have to say. My dad spoke